Hey there everyone, Hanyo here, and today we're diving into one of the most fundamental aspects of photography, exposure. To understand exposure, we just need to look at three different settings of your camera: aperture, shutter speed, and ISO, also referred to as the exposure triangle. Let's break this down. What exactly is aperture? Well, think of it as the pupil of your camera lens. Just like your eye's pupil, it controls the amount of light that enters the camera. Aperture is measured in f-stops, and the lower the f-stop number, the wider the aperture and the more light can get in. Here's the lens set to a narrow aperture of f16. Now if I change the aperture to a lower f-stop, like f2, you'll see that the amount of the light increases significantly. Now here's where things get interesting. The aperture doesn't just control the exposure of your photo, it also affects something called depth of field. And depth of field is sort of the range of sharpness in your image. A wide aperture creates a shallow depth of field, which blurs the background and makes the subject pop, perfect for those dreamy portraits and creamy bokeh shots. On the other hand, a narrow aperture creates a deeper depth of field, keeping more of your scene in focus. This is great for landscapes or any situation where you want everything from the foreground to the background to be crystal clear. Now, you might be wondering, Hanyo, how do I actually change the aperture of my camera? Well, it depends on the type of camera and lens you're using. Most DSLRs and mirrorless cameras have a dedicated dial or button for adjusting the aperture. But if you shoot on a pure manual lens, you need to turn the aperture ring on the lens itself. Next topic. What is shutter speed? Shutter speed is sort of the gatekeeper of time in your camera. It controls how long the camera sensor is exposed to light. Shutter speed is therefore measured in fractions of a second, and the faster the shutter speed, the shorter the exposure time. Here's a shot captured with a fast shutter speed of 1/1600. Notice how it freezes the motion? Perfect for fast-moving subjects, just like in sports or wildlife photography. A slow shutter speed creates a longer exposure time, allowing more light to reach the sensor. And this is where the magic happens. You can use slow shutter speeds to create stunning motion blur effects. It's often used to make water in photos look really smooth and clean, but you can also use it to show the movement of the clouds in the sky or to capture the light trails of a passing car. Adjusting the shutter speed opens up a world of creative possibilities. And last but not least, ISO. ISO is basically your camera sensitivity to light. Back in the film days, photographers would use different types of film stock with varying ISO ratings to adjust to different lighting conditions. Nowadays, with digital cameras, ISO works in a similar way, but instead of changing film, you're adjusting the sensitivity of the camera sensor. When you crank up the ISO, you're increasing the sensor's sensitivity to light, which allows you to brighten up your image. However, there's a trade-off. Higher ISO settings can introduce digital noise, which can degrade image quality. So why would you even want to shoot on higher ISO values? Well, when you're in a low light situation, you might have no other choice but to increase ISO, so your image doesn't come out too dark or completely black. Now, finding the right balance between aperture, shutter speed, and ISO is crucial for achieving the perfect exposure. It's all about understanding how these three elements work together to capture the image you envision. So always think, what are you trying to achieve, and only then dial in those numbers. Go ahead, grab your camera, hit the streets, and let your imagination run wild. I hope you found this video useful. If so, drop a like and follow. I'm thinking about making more of these kind of tutorials in the future. So if you have any suggestions what I should cover next, let me know in the comments below. For now, it's a wrap. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.